Hi everyone, my name is Cait LeBlanc and today I will be talking to you about the designer Alexander McQueen. Alexander McQueen's full name is Lee Alexander McQueen, but he decided to use just Alexander McQueen as his designer name and brand. He was born in London on March 17, 1969, to his father Ronald, a taxi driver, and his mother Joyce, a social science teacher. He was the youngest of six children and grew up in the East End of London, and he died on February 11, 2010, due to suicide. McQueen's designs were known for their shock value. He pushed the boundaries of fashion, which resulted in shaping what fashion is today. In his career, he was awarded British Designer of the Year 4 times, and even though he's gone, his legacy lives on through his label, Alexander McQueen. In 1985, at just the age of 16, McQueen left his secondary school to do an apprenticeship for Savile Row as a tailor. In 1990, he moved to Milan, Italy, and landed a job working as a design assistant for the Italian designer Romeo Gigli from February to November. Later on, he moved back to London to further his studies at Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design, where he earned his master's in 1992. Here we have some of the most iconic things that McQueen is known for. McQueen is actually the reason that low-waisted pants were a trend. He created a pant called the bumster pant, which we'll get into later, that inspired the low-waisted trend. He is the originator of the skull print trend. He designed the iconic knuckle clutch. He's also very well known for his theatrical runway shows, which I will be talking a little more in depth about later on in the presentation. He is also known for breaking the mold of typical models. He used a double amputee model in one of his shows and created prosthetic legs for her to walk down the runway, and also used a larger woman as a model, which was never seen before on the runway, which is so upsetting. The next five are more visual aesthetics that his designs are known for. So we've got extreme silhouettes, dark concepts, angular suits, hourglass dresses, long gowns, and he's also known for these iconic 10-inch heels. In November of 1992, McQueen showed his first collection called Jack the Ripper Stalks His Victims. The requirement for graduation for St. Martin's was a degree show, and the head of his program was actually invited to show her students' collections during British Fashion Week. So McQueen's first collection ever was showcased at British Fashion Week, which is pretty awesome. A direct quote from Andrew Bolton, who is a museum curator: "The collection's title reveals his fascination with the Victorian culture. It also established his distinctly narrative, autobiographical approach to design. One of McQueen's relatives owned an inn that housed a victim of Jack the Ripper." This collection actually caught the eye of magazine editor Isabella Blow. She was intrigued by his pieces. Blow is known as the person who discovered Alexander McQueen, and the two of them actually became really close friends after this, and she became like a mentor to him. She's actually the reason he started going by just Alexander McQueen, because she said it sounded more posh and like a designer. The iconic garment shown in this collection was the jacket that has his own hair sewn into the linings. The inspiration behind this came from the Victorian times when prostitutes would sell their hair for money in return. In 1996, McQueen decided to found his own label. The early collections that were shown with Alexander McQueen gave him a reputation for controversy, according to CNN. They were so shocking to people because they were so unconventional in comparison to what was on the runways at the time. Shortly after, Isabella Blow and her boyfriend at the time helped him create his logo, which, as you can see, features the iconic C inside of the Q. McQueen's second collection, Taxi Driver, was shown in 1996 and featured the iconic bumster pants that I mentioned earlier. These pants were super low-waisted and cut so low in the back that they showed bum cleavage, which is how they got their name. This design brought a lot of recognition to McQueen, and as I stated earlier, is what kick-started the low-waisted pant trend. On March 12, 1995, McQueen showed his autumn-winter collection, Highland Rape. This collection received a lot of backlash because of the subject matter itself. The garments were torn, blood-spattered, there were blood stains near the crotch area on the trousers. Basically, these garments looked like they came from a crime scene. The historical concept behind this collection was actually on the rape of Scotland by England, but people saw it as the rape of women, which painted him as a misogynist. He never had any intention to be harmful in any way. McQueen states in his documentary that he was sexually assaulted by his brother-in-law, and this wasn't in any way trying to shed light on a dark subject. He wants women to feel empowered. According to the McQueen documentary, although this collection got so much backlash, he made every headline, which made his name known. This collection featured two iconic garments. The jacket resembles a Scottish pattern and has a large V neckline, and this beautiful dress which has torn lace. According to Trino Vercata, one of Alexander McQueen's first employees who worked with him until his death, torn lace became a signature for him, and this was just the first time that we saw it. McQueen moved to Paris in 1996 after becoming head designer of the French luxury brand Givenchy. He stayed in this role until 2001. During his time there, he would live between Paris and London and put out collections for both Givenchy and Alexander McQueen. So he was producing about 10 collections a year. He was taking the money from working at Givenchy and using it to pay people in order to build his company up. The photos on this slide are garments from his first collection with Givenchy, The Search for the Golden Fleece. He actually designed this 55 outfit collection in 25 days. This collection actually still got a lot of backlash from the press because there were still designs that were McQueen and a little risque. On February 27, 1997, McQueen showed his autumn-winter collection, It's a Jungle Out There. After the negative backlash on the Givenchy collection, he decided to make his next collection with his own label, very bold and angsty. The models looked very animalistic and intense. The concept behind this collection was Thompson's gazelle, both in the way that it looks and also the fact that it's the food of Africa and its purpose in life is to be eaten. McQueen said himself that as soon as it's born, it's basically dead, and that's how he sees human life. You're here, and then before you know it, you're gone. According to USA Today, the show's title was a very specific reference to the way that he felt he was hunted down by the elite critics of the French fashion press. On September 27, 1999, McQueen showed his spring-summer collection, number 13. This collection was very innovative and emotional. The concept behind this collection was inspired by an installation by artist Rebecca Horn of two shotguns firing blood red paint at each other. The show featured one of the most iconic moments in McQueen's career. The finale has a model in a beautiful white tulle dress on a spinning platform with two robots choreographed on either side of her. When the finale is over, the robots had sprayed black and yellow paint all over the dress. McQueen said this is actually the first time that he'd ever cried during one of his shows. On September 26, 2000, McQueen showed his spring-summer collection, Boss. This collection focused on beauty and how the pressures put on women to be beautiful are suffocating, specifically pointing a finger at the fashion industry. The concept of the runway for the show was a padded cell in a psychiatric hospital with a huge glass box in the middle. The whole place was lit with bright white light, and there were two-way mirrors around the entire catwalk. The audience was forced to stare at their own reflections while listening to the pulse of a heartbeat. When the show started, suddenly you could see inside of the catwalk, but the models could not see out. They were looking at their reflections the entire show. In the finale, all of the models left the stage and the heartbeat turned into a flat line. The panels of the glass box in the middle dropped to the ground and shattered, revealing a naked, larger woman in the gas mask hooked up to tubes, and moths were flying all around her. This finale was based off of Joel Peter Witkin's photograph called Sanitarium. The whole show was made to make the audience think about what the meaning of beauty really is. As you can see from the photos, the models' heads were all wrapped in bandages, which further added to the intensity of the show. There were two iconic garments featured in this collection. On the right, the dress that incorporated slides that were painted red to resemble blood, and on the left, the dress made entirely of razor clamshells. In 2000, McQueen signed with the Gucci Group. They acquire about 51% of Alexander McQueen, but he stayed in control and was named the creative director. Alexander McQueen also opened up flagships in New York, London, and Milan, and they also started selling fragrances, eyewear, and handbags. In 2004, menswear was introduced. In 2006, a secondary line, McQ, was introduced, which is a more affordable line. And in 2008, the Alexander McQueen online store was launched. In 2005, McQueen showed his spring-summer collection, It's Only a Game. The runway for the show was created to look like a human chess game. Each garment was created to symbolize a piece on the chessboard. The concept behind this is the battles between America and Japan. At the end of the show, all of the models were on stage, and a chessboard was projected, and the models moved as though they were pieces playing in a chess game. There were three iconic garments in this collection. To the left, the dress symbolizing the queen, the top right, the dress symbolizing the rook, and the bottom right symbolizing the king in an outfit resembling the American football player with the shoulder pads and helmet covered in Japanese tattooing. McQueen showed his spring-summer collection Arire in 2003. The runway was created to look like a shipwreck, and the inspiration behind this collection was the film The Mission by Ronald Joff. Arire means transformation in one of the indigenous Amazonian languages. The story being told of this collection is of a girl who was a shipwreck survivor becoming an Amazonian princess. It is the story of survival and redemption according to the Savage Beauty exhibit. The iconic garment featured in this collection was McQueen's oyster dress, which according to Savage Beauty conveyed fragile femininity, which was a softness not really seen too much before in his Alexander McQueen shows. In 2006, McQueen showed his autumn-winter collection, Windows of Culloden. This collection is seen as a part two to his Highland Rape collection, referencing the battle between Scotland and England, but a more optimistic outlook. According to Trino Verkada, these garments use more beautiful finishes, and they are less of an angry look as opposed to the Highland Rape collection. The reason the show is so iconic is not only because it's a part two to one of McQueen's most famous shows that made his name known, but it incorporated a life-size hologram of Kate Moss. The two iconic garments featured in this collection are, to the right, the dress made of entirely peasant feathers with the silhouette resembling a dress from the 1890s, and to the left, this dress that has an asymmetrical, exaggerated silhouette. On October 6, 2009, McQueen showed his last collection before his death, Plato's Atlantis. The concept behind the show was the idea of a time when humanity, after wreaking havoc on Earth, returns to the oceans. He used some of his most iconic moments from his runways in the show. There was a hologram of a model with snakes slithering all over her, and there were mechanic robot cameras that scanned the crowd, like in the show Boss, making the audience look at themselves. This was the first show ever in fashion history to be live-streamed. According to DazedDigital.com, it was a testament to fashion's eagerness not only to adapt itself to a changing world, but to be at its forefront, and for McQueen, it proved his status as the world's most visionary designer. This show changed the future of fashion. Here are a few other iconic garments that McQueen designed before he died. First, we have the Union Jack frock coat that he designed for David Bowie's tour in 1996, the rainbow dress in his La Dame Bleue collection, the exaggerated silhouette dress from the Horn of Plenty collection, the coiled corset from the Overlook collection. He designed the cover of Bjork's album Homogenic, and finally, the asymmetrical coat from his collection Dante. Unfortunately, McQueen committed suicide on February 11, 2010, but his legacy continues through his label. In 2010, Sarah Burton, who had been McQueen's head designer for women's wear since 2000, took over as creative director. They launched a men's underwear line with part of the proceeds going to various AIDS charities around the world. Burton launched her first collections with the label, and they were received really well. In 2011, a museum exhibit, Savage Beauty, opened up featuring some of McQueen's most iconic designs during his career. This dress is from the collection Angels and Demons that he started to design before he died. Burton took on the task of completing it, and the collection was shown to only a small group of people. In Burton's career as creative director, two of her most iconic garments are these two dresses. On the left, the dress from her debut collection as creative director of Alexander McQueen was awarded Dress of the Year in 2001, and on the right, probably one of the most iconic garments in Alexander McQueen history, Burton designed Kate Middleton's wedding dress to her marriage to Prince William. Alexander McQueen sells both women's wear and menswear, targeting a consumer of any gender. Their designs range anywhere from bold to the more recent implications of sophisticated and softness. And I'd say for age, the target consumer is more than likely around 18 to 50 years old, give or take. Alexander McQueen can be bought in a few different retail formats. They have their own retail stores in Asia, Australia, Europe, the Middle East, and the US. They can also be found in department stores, a few examples being Saks Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, Barney's New York, and Nordstrom. And you can also buy their items through their online store. Right, this concludes my presentation on Alexander McQueen. I really hope you enjoyed learning about him as much as I did, and thank you so much for watching.